Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So this will be your intuitive astrology forecast for November 23rd to the 29th of 2025. In this video, I will intuitively tune into my own higher self to get the energetic vibes for the major and minor aspects that are happening this week. So I don't do like an all signs or sun sign or anything like that. I simply don't do that because my guidance just is simply that is just not accurate. It is way too watered down, and I'm here to kind of awaken people to really look at their entire chart, and that what's important is all of it. And if you're just breaking it down to 1, 2, 3 kind of things, it's simply not just you're not getting what you actually need to hear out of any of that kind of stuff. Okay, now of course what I do here is mundane astrology, so this is how it's affecting us on a global political economic kind of a scale. Okay, so that's where this is coming from. So if you do want anything that's personal to you, you need to get a personal reading in, because you're a unique individual person. That's what you got to do, okay? Because you need to take into account the entire chart, not just your sun sign or anything like that. All right, with all that being said, of course, as I say at the beginning of all of my videos, my guidance has been and likely always will be, astrology is an energetic template conducive to certain things. The analogy they gave me was like it's a math formula. Okay, and there's variables that exist within that formula, and of course we're able to change those variables, right? So the astrology chart, the template there is that formula, but we still have free will within that, of course. Okay, and of course, as I do these intuitively, absolutely anything that I say regarding a future event or anything like that is always 100% subject to change due to free will. We all have free will. What I'm getting is what I'm getting as I record this video. However, things can change, whether it's big change, small change, whatever. So be mindful of that when watching these videos or any prediction video from anyone. Any of that is 100% always subject to change, no matter what. You have free will, I have free will, we all have free will. We are amazingly powerful beings. Okay, so yeah. With all that being said, I think we can now jump into the charts for this week. So let me just pull this up on my end here. I know you can see it, but I can't. Now I can. Okay. So we're going to start off on, Sunday the 23rd here. And the only thing we really have happening on this day is this sun here in sextile to Pluto. What the words that I kind of hear are growth and expansion to change. This feels very positive, and I've mentioned this before, and for the past several weeks, if not months at this point, that there is an underlying positive energy here helping to support and shift and transform things, whether we see it that way or not, or whether we're being told that way or not, okay? There's still a lot of manipulation out there. You can't trust everything that you say. Okay, so when I burp like that, it's pay attention to that. So when I say there's a lot of manipulation out there, pay attention to that. Okay? There's nothing is as it seems, basically, and yeah, you need to use, I'm feeling you need to use your own discernment, really, in absolutely anything that you do, including this video, including anything that you watch. Use your own discernment. Do not use your ego. Listen to this. Listen to your heart. Use your own discernment. Listen to how you feel, how something makes you feel, yeah. Okay, anyway, so Sun sextile Pluto. Is there anything more to this? It just feels like growth and expansion outward, but I see like political figures, okay? I'm seeing Trump again. He always tends to just show up. Because, you know. And again, I'm not picking any kind of a side. I'm just saying what I'm getting, okay? And in fact, the whole political divisive thing is just that. It's divisive. We all need to learn to get along with each other, all right? Regardless of whatever. I am not here to give into any kind of division, because ultimately my guidance previously on this has always been is that the people should be in charge. It shouldn't be just some one dude in office in some country or whatever. It should be the actual people that should be in charge, like the populace itself. Okay? And not the way that we have it now. So, but again, that's not exactly how we have it now, but we kind of need to get to a point. We need to just, basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not here to bring any kind of division, because we all need to learn to get along. Yeah. Otherwise, we're simply not going to move forward. Okay, so anyway, what I get with this is, yes, there's outward expansion. I see Trump. I don't know what that is. Are you going to give me any specific? Okay, no. Instant no. No specifics. So I do see him. There's outward expansion towards transformation and change. What that is, I have no idea. All right. Any specifics on that? I'm not necessarily getting a no. Any specifics? Okay, now I'm getting a no. It's just a bit delayed, I guess. So yeah, again, they don't use a lot of times I don't get specifics. I get a general vibe simply because we are meant to experience these things. Okay, giving people specifics and they think, oh, this is going to happen, and then they just don't care, and then they whatever, and then it just passes them by, and they don't learn from it. They don't anything that they were supposed to get out of it, you're not going to get out of it, anything like that. So yes, I can give you a general energy. I'm only going to tell you what I get given, and it's usually going to be just a general energy, something. If you need to watch out for something, then sure, that's what's going to come through. But ultimately, we need to all experience these things because we're living a physical experience, and that is what we're here for. Okay, yes, you can get spiritual guidance, heads up, etc. However, you're not just going to be told everything that's planned to happen from this point forward. Because number one, it's subject to change. Okay, and then if you get told that and then something different happens and you're going to be like, well, you're full of shit. It's like, well, no, people have free will. At that point, when you heard that guidance, that was true. However, things can change. Okay, did you get an update prior to what was going on? No? Well, then. All right, so it's like anything. It's like being in a company. You set things forth into a certain pattern, schedule, whatever. But if things change, you have weekly meetings, updates, etc. in case things do happen, because that's what happens. Same thing with this. All right? Things change due to free will, due to shifts and whatever. All right? But yeah, I think that's enough about that. So that's basically it for Sunday. Let's move on to Monday here, the 24th. Okay, so we are, let's just start with this one. So we're going to have Mercury retrograde here in quincunx to Chiron retrograde. Okay, what do we got? This feels like an awareness or maybe talking about something where people have, where we've been hurt, or there's a wound there, it feels like, and there's bringing some kind of an awareness to this. Ultimately, I'm being drawn to the Scorpio energy, ultimately again for transformation and change is what that feels to me. With that quincunx, it feels frustrating though, as in people like haven't listened before. And there's an integration, a solution that needs to occur with this in whatever kind of a way, okay? Now, it feels like, again, this feels like higher level officials maybe speaking out in this way. It feels more, like I said, on that global politically, economically kind of a thing, right? Because that's what I do here. Okay, so the reason why I do these mundane in this way, because I feel like I should say this, is simply because I could go through how this would specifically affect everyone. However, I've been guided away from that, and the guidance that I get through this is to do mundane astrology. Why? Because if I do the other way to try to see the myriad of different ways in which this can affect someone, people are only going to listen to what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. I want to do this with integrity, with a higher standard of ethics, in that I don't want to tell you what you want. I want to actually help you. And that could involve saying what you need to hear. Okay? So, because a lot of times people hearing what they want to hear is ego-driven. When, I'm sorry, but that's not going to really help you when you need to hear in a lot of ways what you need to hear. That goes for everyone. I've had experiences like that too, of course, 100%. We all want certain things, but then when you hear something different, it can be, but what that involves is for you to actually work on yourself and recognize that maybe what you need to hear and what you need to do is actually ultimately better for you than what your ego thought you wanted in the first place. And it actually helps you to work on yourself and become a better person, and to actually maintain and continue a maturity and growth. Okay? That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to just look at a chart or pull a card and tell you what you want, saying someone's going to show up in your life. Okay, no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to give you the actual reading that you need, something that we need to hear, etc. So yes, and there have been times where I've said, done those things where it's like, oh, this could affect you in this way, that way, or whatever. But I've been guided recently to just stick with mundane astrology because, number one, it's something for everybody because it's how we're all affected. And number two, then people aren't going to pick and choose in terms of, oh, well, this is for me, then that's for me. They can't be that thing that's going to make me, where I have to put in work to actually work on myself. Oh, it can't be that, when it likely is that for that person, right? They just won't hear it. Okay, so rather than me putting stuff out there and people just getting delulu in their own sense, and then I'm going to feel at fault for that, right? When that's not my intent. I'm going to do something which is, and I feel like this is why I'm being guided to this, doing something which is basically putting it out, basic mundane astrology, which is for everyone, affecting us politically, economically, etc. That way everyone can watch it. It affects us all based on that kind of stuff, but people aren't going to get stuck in their delusions of what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear. Okay? And of course, if you want a personal reading, you can get a personal reading with me. That still exists, or with anybody else, or whatever, right? So all that stuff is still there if you want something specific for you, of course. Okay, but that's my explanation on why I do this, and I feel like I need to say it. Okay, now back to what we're doing here. All right, so we've talked about the Mercury quincunx Chiron. We're going to have Mars here in squaring the nodes as well. So Mars in Sagittarius here is going to square the North Node and the South Node, okay? I feel like this is taking us in new directions forward. With that Mars in Sagittarius, I feel like that's part of where the new directions come in. I understand the nodes are getting to that space, but remember, Sagittarius is like that Jupiter, that expansive energy. There's multiple different paths, multiple different ways, multiple different things, and expanding into new aspects of that, new directions, new things. Okay? And that's what it feels to me. It feels like there's a difficulty here with the South Node in terms of letting go what we've deemed as practical, what we once have been used to. But this North Node, like I've said before, feels very good. It's in a direction in which we haven't gone before. But I almost wanted to say there's a reason for that. But I guess we have to not fear the unknown in moving in this direction, because it's for our best good. But it feels like we're latched onto these old things thinking that we can't let go of them, when what's meant for us moving forward in this new direction is far better than what we know and understand today. Okay, so hence this taking action to expand or growth. It may seem odd, weird, like we don't want to do it, but it's something that needs to be done because ultimately it's for our best good. Okay, and again, a lot of people won't want to hear that. A lot of the news may be making this out to be something that it's not. Okay, when really there's more going on than what meets the eye. There's more going on behind the scenes. In last week's video, I got a lot of weird behind the scenes stuff. And I mean, we still haven't reached that energy yet at the time of me recording this, so I still don't know what's going to happen, okay? But I'm just getting the vibe of this. Now, the other thing that's happening as well here, we're going to have Mercury will conjunct Venus. Of course, that won't be until later in the day, but Mercury will conjunct Venus. What do we got with that? It almost feels like getting rid of people that haven't actually really helped us. I feel like that relates to Scorpio in that transformative aspect. You're kind of maybe seeing that with that Mercury retrograde, you're kind of maybe actually seeing it for what it is, more especially being Scorpio, seeing it more for what it is, and with that conjunction to Venus dealing with people and relationships and that kind of stuff, it's that aspect of transformation through that awareness to then almost like get rid of those people that weren't, honestly, they feel like dead weight. They feel like they weren't there for us. They feel like all of that stuff that you don't want in, someone in your life, right? So that's what I feel from that. Okay, so that is Monday the 24th. Let's move on to Tuesday the 25th here. And this is when we're going to have this Venus in quincunx Chiron. I feel like that relates to that Mercury conjunction is initially what I've got, and I'm feeling it again now. And regarding our wound to self is what I feel with that initially, with that Chiron in areas like that, and the wound to ourself, identity, who we are, and getting rid of those who don't honor that. With that quincunx, I feel like that frustration exists in the past in terms of those people not honoring us. And we have to remember, we have to honor other people's independence as well, but this feels very much so like the wound to us and honoring us and really truly transforming that and getting them to face that and ultimately getting rid of them from our lives. And I know that sounds harsh, but this is Scorpio and stuff. We're dealing with very kind of straightforward energy, and it's something that kind of needs to be done. You don't need toxic people or toxic energy in your life. Okay, and that's part of what this is. However, this isn't specifically, remember, this is mundane. So I honestly, that's what I'm getting, but is there any way in which you can make this clear on a political or global level? It feels like people involved in things like global affairs or like either political parties or something like that. It might not be specifically those things, but something of the sort is what I'm getting. And it's like, it almost feels like it's ditching the shit or like getting rid of the baggage. Now, okay, I don't want to say, I'm not here to like treat people like crap or anything like that. Like I don't know what these people have done or what is going on. So just, again, that's just the message, okay? I'm not trying to like necessarily hate on anyone that I don't know, but that's honestly what it feels like to me. And again, I'm not in these situations, so I don't know. But that's what it feels like, getting rid of the crap, honestly. And it kind of feels like these people that haven't had either humanity's best interests at heart or other people's best interests at heart, the people that they're supposed to look over best interests at heart, that kind of stuff. And it's like getting rid of the baggage, because if you're not going to give a shit about other people when you're in a position where you're supposed to do that, then you shouldn't be there. Okay, so anyway, that's that. Okay, so that's Tuesday the 25th. And again, these events may not fall specifically on these days. This is when these aspects are peaking, so the energy peaks on that day. So it is more likely to, in a sense, but at the same time, it could either happen like around that time within a few days window, right? Like, because these energies build, peak, and then fade. So any time within that time frame is when this stuff is likely to occur, right? Is when that energetic window exists. Okay? So let's move on to Wednesday the 26th. On the 26th here, we're going to have Venus in trine to Jupiter retrograde. So obviously traditionally known to be positive energies. But let's see here. This almost really feels like, what I feel like is something being brought back is what I've said before with Jupiter retrograde, but this is expanding into new areas in terms of like people, as in maybe once you're getting rid of certain people, there's other people that can then come back that were maybe more meant to be in that space, or you have new people come in that helps to bring something back that's more positive. I don't feel like there's anything else to that, so I'm going to leave it at that. We also have Venus in trine to Saturn as well today. Okay, so I initially kind of get a harshness of Saturn, but also through that, the dissolution of those old control structures and things. It's almost like getting rid of people that haven't had either our best interests at heart or certain people's best interests at heart or whatever, and maybe setting those boundaries, appropriate boundaries, and it's led to a more positive thing. Okay, remember there's that idea of transformation, again with that Venus in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces, the dissolution of that malefic energy, Saturn retrograde, like we're getting rid of this stuff. And it ultimately feels a lot more positive and it allows the people to come in that are more capable of doing those tasks and more able to do those things. And I feel more so now with that energy of Saturn, that more kind of boss-like energy, that's where that is kind of coming from, through setting boundaries, through whatever. It's like you need to have the right people in the right place and not the wrong people in that place, right? So that's why this kind of feels maybe strict, harsh, that kind of thing, but it ultimately leads to greater positivity. Okay, through that aspect of setting those boundaries and getting rid of what is honestly not serving whatever in wherever this is occurring. Okay. Let's move on to Thursday the 27th. Of course, this is when we're going to have Saturn go direct. It's not showing yet here because it doesn't happen until like 9:44 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so but Saturn will go direct later in the day. Okay, let me what do we got with this? I feel like it feels like moving forward with a sense of more positivity, with more appropriate boundaries in place. There's a lot more positive structure now in moving forward with this Saturn. I feel like this retrograde has gotten rid of a lot of the toxic aspects of maybe that Saturn energy that has existed in our world in these places. And now with moving forward, we're moving forward with more positive aspects of structure and boundaries and that kind of stuff, whether we see it or not. Okay, whether we see it or not, this could be completely behind the scenes, especially with Saturn and Pisces. But whether we see it or not, this is what is moving forward, and it honestly feels more positive. It feels like more positive boundary set, more positive structure in place, more probably like getting rid of the old crap. That's what it feels like to me, is moving forward in a more positive, structured kind of a space that is ultimately for our highest good in a lot of ways, whether we're being shown it that way or not. Okay. Also on this day, we're going to have Mars semi-square to Pluto. This almost feels like taking action to move forward whether you like it or not. It feels like there's what it almost feels like is a lack of understanding in terms of actions being taken through growth and expansion to transform and change and move forward. What we see is not necessarily what it is. And through those actions to move and transform and make progress and expand, that's ultimately for our positive, best, and highest good. We're not seeing it that way. And I feel like that part of that is through manipulation, through either older manipulation, and we're sticking with what we think based on old things from the past, and not actually taking the step to actually look at what is going on and seeing if it could possibly be of benefit for us, and just holding on to old things that were never really good for us in the first place. And again, this feels like in a general global kind of a level. Like I said, this isn't any kind of a personal reading, but it's whatever actions are being taken, it feels like there's resistance, but that resistance is futile, because ultimately it's for everyone's highest and best good, regardless of what it may look like on the surface. Okay, the other thing that we're having today is Jupiter in this biquintile to Juno. All right. Jupiter biquintile Juno. Again, it feels like there's something coming back. I remember Juno deals with partnerships, and I've said Juno and Sagittarius, these are like global partnerships. There's something coming back surrounding global partnerships, global stuff. This feels ultimately very positive. There's something coming back regarding these global partnerships, commitments, contracts, etc. There's something coming back. There's something coming back. I've said with that Jupiter retrograde, there's something coming back to us. It's obviously, the word I get is like benefic. Obviously, Jupiter is known as the great benefic, so pay attention to that. So this stuff actually is happening, is positive, whether we see it that way or not. But something is coming back to us through this. I'm being drawn to say with this biquintile that this is behind the scenes kind of stuff. Okay, so we may not even see this, whatever this is, or it's happening and then it kind of comes out, right? So it's can go either way. But ultimately it's positive, whether we see it that way or not. Okay, the other thing that we're having here is this Venus in quintile to the South Node. Again, what I feel like is this letting go of people that we once thought were practical, were good, that had it together. It's not. It feels like this is more so behind the scenes kind of things. Like we may see inklings of it coming up, but it's not going to. It almost feels like, you know how the media doesn't show things as prominently, or certain things as prominently as they should because they're trying to hide it. That's kind of what that feels like to me. in terms of that. It feels like people being let go of or not. It's like they don't have, I wanted to say don't have value anymore, but like in terms of, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to hurt anyone here, but they didn't have value because they were, the word I'm getting is treacherous. They were treacherous. They were, or maybe leading us down a treacherous path. I don't know, treacherous in whatever way, but that needs to get rid of in order to shift in a more positive space. There's a huge amount of positive energy here that's really beginning to move us in a new direction, whether we see it or not. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay. Let's move on to Friday the 28th here. We're going to have this first quarter moon. So moon in Pisces, sun in Sagittarius. All I feel with this is expansion. There's no limits to Pisces. Obviously, with that Sagittarian energy by Jupiter, that expansion in multiple different. This is just expansion. It's expansion, but it feels positive. But a lot of what I feel like is there's a lot of the masses that just simply, the energy I get is they're not gonna get it. They don't get it. They don't get it because everybody has been so beaten into being manipulated into other things that they're not actually seeing it for the positivity that they're not seeing it for what it is, because they've been so manipulated. They have these certain things that have been beaten into them that they have yet to actually look at and heal. Now that's not everyone, but that's what I get as like a general energy. Okay, so take it as that. But what I get is like growth and expansion. And ultimately it's for the best and leading us in a very positive direction. But there's a lot of people that don't see it like that because they're like this. And they don't understand that it is actually positive. Okay. Another thing here is we're going to have Venus also in conjunction to Black Moon Lilith on this day. I feel a very strong and powerful energy with this. Whether it's almost like calling things out or seeing it for what it is. There's what I get is stuff that a lot of people don't want to see. Like they don't want to see it. People don't want to see it. They don't want to. It's like something maybe come up with those surrounding other people, and they're like, oh, and they don't know how to handle it or deal with it, or they just don't want to see it. They just don't want to see it. Okay, so that's that vibe. Let's move on to Saturday the 29th here. And this is when we're going to have Mercury coming direct at 11:38 a.m. Central Time. Now you have to remember, just because Mercury is direct, the retrograde isn't necessarily over. We still have, I believe, the post-shadow period is until December 16th. So all of that which has happened during pre-shadow, during the retrograde, is likely to still come up during post-shadow in order to be finalized, dealt with, etc. So we're not out of the woods yet. Mercury may be direct. It's not even moving at full speed yet or anything. We're still in a space of dealing with those Mercury retrograde type things. So just be mindful of that. Just because it's direct doesn't mean it's over yet. Not until the 16th, okay? But Mercury retrograde, again, I feel like moving forward. There's this idea of, there's almost like new ideas, new understandings, new things, new conversations, that kind of stuff in terms of moving forward. Transforming into a new direction is what that feels like to me. And I've said this when Mercury was in shadow, when Mercury went retrograde, and now I'm saying it again when Mercury is going direct, that's what that feels like to me. Okay? Moving forward. Through new awareness, new conversations, new all of that stuff. All right? Also on this day, we're going to have Mars here in biquintile to Jupiter. Okay. This is actions being taken to bring something back again. Bring something. Something is coming back. However, this feels like stuff, there's people working behind the scenes on this stuff. It doesn't necessarily seem like we're going to see this yet, but there's action being taken to bring something back. To bring something back, and this feels very positive. Okay? We're also going to have the Sun here in sesqui-square to Chiron retrograde. So sesqui-square is like a super square, okay? What I get is like growth and expansion, really expanding away in new paths, new spaces, away from this wounded energy. Where we've been wounded in terms of independence, sense of self, identity, sovereignty, that kind of stuff. Moving in, expanding and growing in new directions. There's no holding back anymore with this sesqui-square kind of energy. It's pushing for this growth in that sense. Alright, we're also going to have Venus here in opposition to Uranus, retrograde, now in Taurus. Interestingly, Venus also rules Taurus, where Uranus is. This feels like very positive shifts in terms of people. Again, in terms of people. There'll be shakeups, things happening out of nowhere. But it feels like what I get with a Uranian energy is this aspect of change. Change in terms of like this foundation of people that are ultimately either like in control or doing certain things or whatever. There's a change in that. Okay. Venus will also be in a biquintile to Chiron as well. What I get with that is healing those Chiron things through that change of people, really. That transformation, Venus and Scorpio, that transformation. That change of people. That new foundation of people that are going to be helping us to move in a new direction, ultimately. And this is behind the scene. This is behind the scene stuff. We may not actually fully see that for what it really is in that sense. Okay, but of course we have reached the end of the week here. Let me just tune in for just an overall energy of the week. What have we got? Overall energy. It's almost like there's new decisions being made, new directions being moving forward in a lot of ways, but it feels like collectively there's a lot of people that just don't simply understand. However, those new directions that we're moving in ultimately feel extremely positive to me, whether we see it that way or not. That is the overall general energy here. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it there. If you've made it this far in the video, leave a purple heart in the comments so that I know you're a real one, and I hope to see you all in next week's video. If you are looking for any kind of a reading with me, of course, all those links are in the description below if you are interested in any of that, including a $10 3-minute just a quickie reading, because I know, people don't have a lot of money nowadays. Maybe you just have one kind of a question or something. That is an offering that exists there. All right. Thank you all for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.